Have games become less fun than before, or is it the process of aging which makes them less entertaining? When I look back, I still remember vividly playing Halo 3 with my best friend until I physically couldn't stay up anymore. We used to giggle like little girls just because everything was so fun. I remember those times very fondly. Then one day, I stopped playing. Not completely, but the overnight sessions became 1 to 2 hour sessions, and those sessions happened once or twice a week. After a while, I would sometimes go for months without a single minute of gaming. You see, instead of booting up the PC or the console, it felt easier to turn to a tablet and start binging on Netflix or YouTube. I used to think the reason for that was work. I had more responsibilities and felt a bit tired when I would come home. Before hitting the sack, couch and tablet made a lot more sense than a gaming chair facing a PC. I started gaming again some 3 months ago, and now I think I understand why, for a time there, games felt less fun for me. To explain, I have to tell you a brief story about a film that I loved back when I was much younger. It was The 13th Floor. It was released back in 1999, but I watched it sometime thereafter. The premise of the film is about the main character living in a simulation, and I remember mine and my best friend's minds were blown away by the concept of the story. We liked the film even more than The Matrix, and we would spend hours upon hours geeking about the simulation hypothesis and existentialism, with our limited knowledge, mind you. Many years thereafter, I watched the film again. Though I still enjoyed it, the magic was gone. I had grown up, and the everyday grind had gotten the best of me. I used to laugh a lot back in the days, but I am now more serious. I used to let my mind run freely with wild imaginations, but it is now filled with the thoughts of monthly bills, my stock portfolio, and everything else that make my current living standard possible. I didn't know this at the time, but I missed my younger self and the life that I had. It's foolish because you can't go back in time, and we all have to grow up at some point. Even so, I think it's okay to hold on to some of the innocence and enthusiasm that we've all had once upon a time when we were kids. Which takes me back to why games became less fun for me with age. The reason was me. I was no longer a fun person. Now hold on, I understand that games have become worse with the additions of DLCs and microtransactions. Not to mention, game companies no longer innovate, but rather repeat the same formula over and over again. For example, all Ubisoft games are the same. Far Cry 3 is Far Cry 4, and Far Cry 5 is Far Cry 6. They have the same game mechanics, the same stories, rinse and repeat year in, year out. What about online shooters? Nerf existing operators to encourage players to buy new operators, charge an arm and a leg for some ridiculous skin. Need I say more? With all that said, there are still great games released every year, and that makes, games have become so bad, a poor excuse to say that I stopped enjoying games because of such. I, without knowing, have become jaded with age. I find myself slower to trust people. I see myself having perfected the most convincing fake smile. I become a pro at breaking ice with strangers. I can hold an interesting conversation when in truth, I have zero interest in the person sitting across the table. These are all things I've become accustomed to as I learn the ways to make a living in this world. Naturally, every one of our actions have consequences. The modern day life slowly changes us to become more withdrawn with each passing day. But you know what? It doesn't have to be like that. Just as some people meditate to keep their minds healthy, I believe for me, video games could have a similar effect. I can reclaim some of the innocence and enthusiasm I once had in the privacy of my home. I can go back to giggling like a little girl at the most immature things on screen. I can just be me for the hours that I'm playing a game. I don't have to be the professional me 24/7. Then there's my passion for gaming. It's come back in a big way too. I could never go back to being the kid or the young man who had little to no worries in life and be able to see everything with the utmost optimism. But at the same token, I don't have to carry the stoic and businesslike attitude all day, every day. I think I've become mature enough to effectively separate my personal and professional life. I feel that games are fun again exactly because of that. To summarize, I do believe games become less fun with age, and it's inevitable due to the added responsibilities that comes with being an adult. However, at some point in your life, when you can confidently say that you've got your life in order, I think we have to cut ourselves some slack and give ourselves a chance to be us, the real us and not the representation of us to our clients and our bosses. Like most things in life, as long as we regulate the hours invested and we continue being professionals during the hours of work or school, video games can help you retain some of that magic we've all experienced in our childhood. Yes, it's escapism in a sense, but what's wrong with allowing your mind to drift away in a fantasy land so long as you are responsible in all other areas of life? That's what I'm doing and I'm loving it. That being said, I will add one more thing at the risk of sounding like a boomer. The key to all of this is the prerequisite of having your life in order. If you are in your teens or in your 20s, video games should be the last thing in your list of priorities. Being young is akin to using a multiplier in video games. What you do today as a teen or as someone in their 20s will have much greater impact than everything else you do for the rest of your life after you reach the age of 30. It's something to think about. Yes, gaming is fun again. It lacks those magical moments that comes with being a child, but that's okay. I'm not a kid anymore. I just want to be able to reminisce the good old days from time to time. That is all, really. I want to thank all of you for listening to my long rambling. I'll see you on the next one. Cross out.